You're tuned into the Writing Community Chat Show, the live streaming YouTube podcast that brings you the stories of authors, screenwriters, and more. Indie or established, this show's for the community, and we invite you to be a part of it. Head to the writingcommunitychatshow.com for more info. The WCCS. Together as one, we get it done.
Hello and welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. Hello everybody and welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. We've got another great guest for you tonight and a great show coming up, and I hope you are all doing very well. I was just trying to control my laughter for numerous reasons, but hello Chris, how are you doing? How's your week been?
Hello to you, Aga. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've had an up and down week, day life, work life, bit up and down, but working on some positive manifestations this week, which is something that, we're working on our health and our positivity recently, and that's kind of working out pretty well. So, yeah, how has your week been?
Yeah, it's been good. Can't complain. Yeah, it's been a good week, and we've got a really good guest. Obviously, a familiar guest, because we've interviewed this guest very briefly recently. But I'm looking forward to chatting to her tonight and getting to know more about her story and her journey into writing. Yeah, it should be fun.
It will indeed. And a little announcement we've got for you. If you're watching this on the live, or you're going to watch it back, or you're listening on the podcast, we have a new store available, and it's called a Stan Store. Now, part of this weird, I say weird, but indifferent to my usual routine of the positivity world and the manifestations and all of that good stuff, I read about how you need to pay attention to the nudges from the universe. And Chris sent me a message this week about the Stan Store. And I decided, let's go with it and let's start creating stuff on there and see what happens. And we created that store, and I've really bought into it. And because it's beneficial to the community, and I don't go with things that are perhaps, could help, I don't know, generate income or whatever, if they're not beneficial to you guys. But this is fantastic. So let me share a little screen with you. Sorry for you, if you're listening to this, you'll have to just catch up on the video. But it's got a few, we've interviewed 360 plus people. We've got a lot of experience and wealth of knowledge from them, and we've turned it into documents and digital downloads that you can get hold of that can help your writing, keep you on track with your writing progress. And we've got a community feature on there that you'll be able to share a lot of things into it, from your blurbs and your little bits of writing that you want feedback on, and connecting with other authors, and also get a perk like a 5-minute feedback critique from me and Chris. On a monthly basis. So if I share that screen with you, I'll show you the community. So this is the Writers Inner Circle, and it's a forum that's really cool. And this is where you can post and get engaged with other writers. We've got some resources on there. So as a perk, you get the feedback, the 5-minute breakdown and suggestions from me and Chris, having used all that experience that that we've learned on the show. And you've also got your purchases. So if you've bought things on there, such as your master plan character guide, your count tracker, which I think is a really good little tool that we've made, a pitch builder, and your author blueprint, there are things on there that can really help you. So that is something that we want you to check out if you can do. And we'll leave links in the description. If you've been on our socials, you would have seen that we launched it yesterday. There's been a good few viewers to that already. And someone's already bought a little thing off there. So hopefully they're using that tool really well to their advantage. But we urge you to get into that and to become part of the community. And we'll be active on there and engaging with you guys as well. But take advantage. There's lots of things that we can offer. And more importantly, that between yourselves, you can offer to each other as well. So that's something we've worked hard on this week.
Yeah, I also told you to talk to the trees. How many trees have you spoken to?
You did. You really did. Chris, I've not talked to any trees. I do apologize.
Yeah. I mean, the manifestation thing, mate, talking to trees, apparently, I've not tried it myself, but apparently it's really good. Apparently they're connected, obviously via their roots to the world, and apparently if you talk to them, they can make things happen
Well,
for you.
there is a picture of me hugging a tree at a music festival because other people were doing it. I thought I'd get involved, and that exists somewhere. We'll have to find that out for you. But I've definitely not talked to any trees, and I will put that on my list of to-do things. So thank you for that one, Chris.
You're welcome.
Cool. Have you hugged a tree? If you're watching or listening, let us know. I'd be interested to know if you have and what impact it has had. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce tonight's guest, and we're going to get them on, and we're going to talk about many things, including the writing journey, the book, The Hideaway, which is absolutely fantastic, and what's going to come out next, maybe, and also get questions answered from you guys. Anya says in the comments, I hug trees and commute with them. Commune with them.
Yeah. So let us know if you've had any successes in terms of. Apparently, you're supposed to ask the tree. Why am I talking about this? Well, apparently, you're supposed to ask the trees for something that you want in your life and offer the tree a sort of token gift to protect it. And then things are meant to happen. So,
what kind of gift would you give a tree?
Something to protect it, apparently. So it can be, I don't know. I'm not a tree protecting expert, but there'll be things that I'm not the most educated person on this. This is just a thing I came across.
Hey, you brought the trees up. That's all I'm saying.
You're right. I think we should get the guest on though, because this is going to go really quickly otherwise.
Okay. Yes, we will. So, Anya, if you do have any knowledge of trees and what you do with them, please let us know. So tonight we have an absolute thriller sensation joining us, as she is titled The Therapist Who Writes Crime Thrillers. Fantastic. So an author who's gone from being signed by the prestigious Pan Macmillan for her gripping debut novel to an interview at the Harrogate Crime Writers Festival with us. She has a BACP registered therapist. She is a BACP registered therapist, oh my God, who channels that deep understanding of the human mind into razor-sharp suspense. Her book, The Hideaway, a chilling story set at the wilderness retreat gone wrong, has been making waves, earning the coveted title of Apple Books Thriller of the Month and shortlisted for the UK Book Blogger Awards. So please give a huge, warm writing community welcome to the author of The Hideaway, the amazing Nikki Allen. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. And I want to get right in there on the tree hugging chat, by the way. We're not going to let that one slide. Because I would definitely say that hugging a tree comes highly recommended from personal experience and from with my therapist head on as well. I would say absolutely give it a go, all listeners and both
that's
Chris's.
amazing.
Yeah.
Anya just said she trinkets rum. To give my rum to a tree, a song, herbs and stones, etc. So that's
absolutely
amazing.
Offerings to the tree. Yeah, they're so calming and peaceful. I think it's a great technique for kind of anxious moments. Actually, just go even without the hugging, just going and looking at trees and green things. There's actually research, like scientific studies have been done on this that actually show that it kind of is proven to lower anxiety levels and stress levels and really help people living with depression just to be around trees and green things. So
I agree with that. Some of my most pleasant moments going through even difficult times is going out on hikes in the forest trees. So I've walked past trees, Chris, but I've not hugged them. So they've been really good. So, but hello to you. How are you doing before we get into anything else?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. We had such a great time chatting at Harrogate, so I was really excited to come on. So I'm good. Although it is the start of half term now, so I've got a week of goodness knows what kind of juggling coming up. But apart from that, all good.
Yeah, I mean, Chris gets a week off with his teaching and I do not, so I'm very jealous at this time of year. But yes, I also have a picture of proof that we did because I found these and I wasn't too sure if you'd seen them. So there's one of us chatting.
No, I haven't seen that one. Oh, look, we're having so much fun. It was so good.
I think the expression on the woman's face at the front perhaps means I said something probably inappropriate. But there you go. Yeah. We're having laughter, and that's the most important thing.
Exactly.
Yes. So whereabouts in the world are you joining us from?
So I am in the lovely suburb of Southgate in North London, which, if anybody happens to know the tube lines, it's at the top of the Piccadilly line. That's the easiest way to describe it. So I'm like the top of London, almost going into Hertfordshire. And I'm talking to you live from my living room, which I'm glad you can't see the rest of, because it's a chaos of train tracks and magnets and goodness knows what else. So I found a little calm corner to talk to
Yeah,
you from.
no, I agree with that, because the mess behind here is terrible too. Uh, yeah. So one question we love to ask, and it kind of proves how society kind of is within the writers' world. What is the writing kind of scene like where you are? Do you get connected with authors in the real world, or do you mainly connect online?
So I think my connections have mostly started online and then turned into, with the ones that are kind of geographically not too far, then turned into kind of real life connections as well. But does seem to be how it's happened. So I met, other writers through some writing courses that I did, or groups
Mm.
or communities. And then as I got agented, met some of my agent sibling authors, connected with them. So it all kind of happened virtually to begin with, and then also now with social media. I think since I got my book deal, I started kind of trying to build a little bit more of a profile on Instagram, and so connecting with people there, and then again bringing those connections then into real life, arranging to meet with people when we're at the same event or festival or whatever it is. So it's kind of started online, and then it's moved more into kind of real life community. And I would say that a lot of the writers that I met first online have now become really good friends, to the point where if I'm having a wobble, a book related wobble, a crisis of what am I doing? This makes no sense. I need to start this again. That we will kind of leave each other long rambling voice notes, and it's just so helpful and supportive. It's just a different kind of friendship to other friendships that I've had
Mhm.
before, because even though we come together because of writing and books, we also have so many other things in common as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really nice, isn't it, to have that support and be able to
really is.
experience and learn from everybody else as well. So
Yeah.
interestingly, you mentioned about the writing groups. How did that has that been a help for you, and was that sort of part of your crucial part of your becoming
Mm.
the successful author you have been so far?
I think it was actually, yeah. I think it was, and mostly because this. I don't know if this is true for other people, but it was definitely true for me. I just couldn't seem to get a book done in
Mm,
isolation. So even though the process of obviously writing is solitary, the actually getting it done, the dedication, the motivation, the sitting down every day to do the first draft, the going back, going through edits, I couldn't have done that without having a kind of a group. And I signed up to somewhere called the Novelry. And even though I signed up to a couple of the courses with them, but actually the thing that helped me the most wasn't the courses, it was the community.
yeah.
It was, having other people to chat to kind of running things by people. They do these kind of golden hour writing hours where writers can just show up all together and sit in a Zoom room all together and write. And I did stuff like that, and it meant that I actually got it down. So, and I don't know if I could have done it without that. And that might be part of how my brain is wired. I have ADHD. It gets in my way. I will have an idea, but that doesn't mean that loads of ideas, but that doesn't mean I can always get them down. But
Mm.
having that supportive community made all the difference for me. Yeah, definitely.
It's great, isn't it? And you mentioned something there. It was like together and as one, and that is literally our motto: together as one, we get it done. Because we
I
completely
love
agree
that.
that it's
I
being
love
part
that.
of um, like you mentioned, the solitary side of things is the most
Hmm.
difficult part of it. And
Hmm.
you're constantly on this journey of learning and understanding. When you've got those people beside you, even if it's virtually, they can really help you push forward
Totally.
and work together. So, yeah, I think it's really valuable.
100%. And 100%. And just having people as well sort of believing in you and your
Yeah.
writing and your book, and I'm doing that like for somebody else at the moment who really doesn't believe in themselves, and I'm saying to her, please don't give up on this book. And I know that for her that is so helpful, of reminding her that she can do this. And that's what I needed so much as well, because I think sometimes we can really get in our own way, you know, with writing, and sort of talk ourselves. For me, I was like talking myself out of my ideas, and oh, but this is rubbish, looking at my first draft and going, oh, this is terrible, not realizing that actually it's a first draft. Of course it's terrible. That's fine. It's supposed to be terrible. It will get better in the edits. But, you know, without having those kind of people mirroring that back to me, I would have done what I'd done 1,000 times before, you know, and started something and then given up. So,
Yeah,
I think it
definitely.
makes all the difference. Yeah.
Cool. We're going to play a little video, and then we're going to get into part one, which is the road to writing, and then we're going to learn about how you started this entire journey, because that's going to kind of interesting, and how you then became signed by Pan Macmillan. So, part one coming up. So, yeah, of course, like I mentioned, you were signed by Pan Macmillan, and then you attended the Harrogate Crime Writers Festival, and, you know, became Thriller of the Month by Apple Books lately. But that all started somewhere. So at what point in your life did you think writing is something that I want to do?
Oh, do you know, I wish I had something more original to say, because I'm sure everybody says this, but I think I always thought that I wanted to be a writer. Like, and I still have these little books that I made, you know, when I was 6, and they've got great titles like The Adventures of Silly Susie Sausage. And I got my mum to take them to work and like laminate them. And obviously that's how I think actually most of them I started and never even finished. But clearly I had the idea from an early age, and I carried that with me all the way through sort of school and uni. And it was after uni that I thought, I really want to write. I want that to be my career. And was met with a lot of people saying, oh, you're not going to make any money from that, and it's not a very sensible career, and you're too, you know, maybe it's too early in life to write a novel or something. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll do something else instead that involves writing, and I went and became a journalist. So I studied journalism at my local newspaper. I got a job like at this local paper called the Worcester Standard, in case anyone listening is from the West Midlands. That's where I grew up. And it was brilliant. It was like cats stuck up trees, village fates, you know, all the big breaking stories. But it was the best training for getting to grips with what makes a story, you know, and sort of learning about writing. And then from there, I sort of stuck around doing a few different journalism jobs in different specialisms. I did food and drink journalism, I did some business journalism, and then sort of moved from that into copywriting and went freelance sort of a few years later in my late 20s. So I have always been writing in some form or another. I took this slight divergence for a few years where I was always been so interested in psychology as well, and went and did a qualification and training to become a therapist. And I that's some work that I still do. So I still have a private practice in therapy. But all along, I was like, I still got to keep the writing going. I just don't know what that's going to look like around sort of therapy. In terms of actually writing a novel, so like really the creative writing, the ideas kept popping up sort of over and over again. Like for about maybe about 5 years ago was the time that I was coming up to quite a big birthday as well. And it was that feeling of like, if I don't write this book that my brain has been harping on about for years, if I just don't try to do it now, I wonder when I'll actually do it. Like, if not now, when? It was kind of one of those moments. And I thought, well, I know how to write. I know how to write journalism. I know how to do copywriting. That doesn't mean that I know how to write a book at all, because it's a completely different thing. So why don't I learn how to do that? And that's when I signed up. It was in 2022. I signed up and did a course with the Novelry that I mentioned before, and wrote a book. And that book is not The Hideaway. So to be clear, the first book that I wrote is not the one that ended up getting a deal with Pan Macmillan. It did get me an agent, though. It did get me representation. And it was another thriller. It was set in the Scottish Highlands. I don't. Do you know what a bothy is? Either of you? Do you know what a bothy is? Right. So,
No.
oh well, you're going to know now. So, in the Highlands of Scotland, anyone that's going kind of like hiking, walking, if you want to do a longer trek, you can stay overnight in these kind of they're like old shepherd's huts, so really really old but sort of far outbuildings, things like that, and they've now been turned into just kind of free for all lodges that anybody can go and stay in if they're hiking. You can't lock the doors always have to stay open. There's nothing really in there. There's no water, there's no electricity. Now, I found this idea just about the creepiest thing I'd ever heard when I spent a lot of time in the Highlands, and I was like, gosh, that's a good setting for a thriller. So that was this first thriller, right? It was a woman who wakes up in a bothy in the Highlands, and she's got no memory of what she's doing there, and she's trapped inside. So that was the premise. I had a lot of fun writing it. I queried it. I worked on it for about 18 months. I queried it in 2023, sort of summer 2023. And to my amazement, I got a lot of interest. I had several offers of representation. And I chose, it's in a really incredible position. And I still think now that was the best feeling ever. It was one of those moments where as an author, I was like, I'm the one with the choices here. I've got all of this. And it was an incredible feeling that for me in my journey hasn't necessarily been, that's not really the norm, but it was a real high. It was a real high having this kind of choice of agents. And I chose my agent. And interestingly, I had all these offers, and almost everybody, these offering agents were saying, this Bothy book is great. We want to get it out there. We think we can get a deal for it. But one agent said, this is good, but I don't think it should be your debut. What other ideas have you got? And at that point, I had nothing really. I had literally one line in my head, which is a bunch of strangers win a place on a retreat in the Costa Rican rainforest, and the host disappears, but they're led off into the jungle. And I said, that's all I've got, sorry. And she said, that's your debut. I'd like to represent you to work on that book.
Yeah.
And that was the agent I went with, that was the agent I went with because I really liked the idea of somebody really pushing me. And she's a great agent, and I think her advice was right, actually. I think it was the right thing. I think the Hideaway and even that hook that I had for it was, more sort of commercial. It was more clearly thrillery, it was kind of easier to sell. So yeah, so then we worked on that together. I wrote it, my agent gave me feedback. We did a few rounds like that over the next year. And then in July 2024, we went on submission. So my agent sent the Hideaway. It wasn't actually called the Hideaway then. I think it was called the Wilderness Retreat or the Sanctuary Retreat or something like that. And was so blown away that in a couple of weeks, I think it was, Pam Macmillan expressed interest and took it to acquisitions and then decided to offer. And they offered me a 2-book deal. So the Hideaway plus one other book, which I'm now in the process of editing. And then it came out this July. So that was a slightly long and rambling potted history of how I got to where I am, but I hope it gives you an idea anyway.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it's really interesting that the whole finding the agent process for people to hear about. So what was your first sort of step towards gaining an agent, that maybe one that you wanted, or you kind of spreading it out there to find someone to take it on?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I treated it like I took it really seriously. I did so much research because I still think this is true now, but I remember reading advice that like having the wrong agent or somebody that's not really a good fit for you is kind of worse than not having an agent at all.
Yeah.
Like you're better off with no agent than the wrong one. And
Absolutely.
so I took that really seriously. I did lots of research. So I went on, the first thing I did is I looked up who are the agents that rep my favorite authors or authors that have got careers that I really admire and really respect and would love to sort of emulate in some way. And one of my favorite authors in the universe is Will Dean. I love his books. I love his writing. I also love his career and how he's kind of doing sort of in tandem. He's got this kind of detective thriller series, and then he's also got these standalone thrillers as well. I just thought he's doing fantastically well. And so I was like, I wonder who reps him. And I found out, and that was the reason that I submitted, for example, to the agent who then became my agent. And it was a similar process. I looked up, you know, who reps the authors that I really love their books. I really admire their career. And I made a short list of those. I then went through, are they open to submissions? Which ones are open? Which ones aren't? And then I did spend some time, and not everybody says to do this, but I did. I spent some time like tailoring my query letter for each agent, so that I was specifically pulling out, you know, because of your client Will Dean, your author client Will Dean, I'm wondering if you'll be interested in a book with X, Y, and Z, similar themes to Will Dean, for example, or even just to say, because I really admire X, Y, and Z author that you represent, I wanted to send you X, Y, and Z. So it wasn't loads, but I think I did decide to do that because I think I honestly don't know if that's what makes a difference. And when I since had lots of conversations with my agent about why do they, you know, why do they choose who they choose, kind of thing. And she says that really it does come down to the query and the pages. You know, people sort of rarely actually read the synopsis, and the tailoring isn't the end of the world. If somebody misses off, you know, tailoring or writing a perfectly structured query letter, but their pages are brilliant, then that's always going to be the most important thing. But yeah, that was something that I did, sort of tailoring those letters. I didn't send out tons of queries. I think it was only about 15, and I got so many, and this was such a shock, but I got so many full manuscript requests, and the offers, one of my offers that I had came in within, I think, 26 hours or something.
Wow.
So it was very fast, which sounds amazing, but was actually quite overwhelming. It was quite overwhelming because then I had to sort of go and let all of the other agents know, I've had an offer, so I need you to get back to me within X, Y, and Z time. And then they all stuck back, and it was hectic. So I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend doing like that, but that's what I did anyway.
Yeah. That's the place to be in, though, isn't it? The power's in your hands at that point. Chris also loves Will Dean, and he's a great person. But I think you're absolutely right there, because what that does by identifying this is similar to X, Y, Z, it means that it's within their capabilities to deliver.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
you know, if you state the fact that it's like what you already sell, they straight away think, well, let's check it out. If it is, then we can sell it. So I think that's a great bit of advice for people.
Yeah.
Nikki, I'm really interested in two things. One, obviously the Hideaway. We won't talk about in detail until we get to the what's the story element. But I'm really fascinated, having written one book and then writing another one with your agent. You didn't make it easy for yourself in terms of, you've got multiple points of view in there. You've got characters that I don't know if this is the right word, Marmite characters that you love to hate in the book. So they're difficult skills in order to, you know, take on for what is essentially the second time of you writing a novel. So can you talk us through that process of actually, from that one line that you had, then getting it into an entire novel?
It was a process of genuinely thinking I'd made the biggest, the most catastrophic mistake of my life. That I remember thinking my agent has just got it wrong. Like, she thought that I could do this book, but I can't. And at one point, am I going to have to tell her that I'm really sorry, you made a massive mistake, I can't actually write this book. I mean, that was part of the process, to be sure. I'd create. Do you know what was helpful? I always knew that I wanted it to be kind of multi POV and have these slightly Marmite characters, because that's what I love to read. That's what I love to read. Those are like my favorite books to read. So I spent quite a lot of time like studying those books. How do they do it? Like Lucy Clarke is an author who I really admire, who does that really well. Like, it also kind of destination type thrillers. There's always these multiple points of view. We always have characters who, again, you might love them or hate them. So I was really studying it. Like, how does she do it? How does she separate between them? How do the points of view all kind of work together? How do you create that kind of unreliable narrator as well in there? So I did a lot of like pulling apart other books about how they did it. I also, and I think this was really helpful, I asked my agent to kind of look at it in chunks. So I sent over, I think first I sent her a chapter outline, what do you think of this? Do you think it's working? Then redrafted that. We did that a couple of times. And I then sort of sent her, I think I wrote about 30,000 words, sent that to her. How is this all working? Let's get that right before we carry on. And then I would sort of tore that apart after her feedback, did that again, and then continued, and was kind of getting feedback from her as I went. That made me feel a lot more reassured that I could do it, because you're totally right. Like, thinking about creating this whole new book that was really ambitious was pretty daunting. And I did have a lot of moments of thinking, I'm never going to pull this off. But I think in the end, we did a lot of, and that's the other thing. We did a lot of drafts, and that is just something I just didn't know before I've started trying to write creatively, that your first draft is not going to be it. It's not going to be working. For me, in my first draft, my characters are like really superficial and stuff doesn't really make sense. And the pacing is all wrong. And that's normal. But then what happens is you go back in the draft and back in and back in, and then you can really create those points of view that are actually working and create the unreliable narrator and get the pacing going and everything like that. So yeah, it was a lot of drafts, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of tears. But having somebody who really believed in me and having my agent kind of going, I know what you're capable of, I know you can pull this together, obviously really helped as well.
Yeah.
The second question that I had was to do with the psychology, because it's really interesting. Obviously, you're trained in this background. And I'm going to ask like 3 targeted questions, I suppose, about the psychology. How much does it come into play in terms of your own conscious when you are writing, but then also negotiating with like agents and then choosing the right publisher? How much of your experience in that field comes to the forefront when you're making those sort of decisions?
God, what an amazing question, and kind of really hard to answer, because the honest truth is, I don't know how to, because I've been doing this work for quite a few years, and also I've been in therapy myself for about 15 years. So and I did a psychology master's in my 20s. So it's almost so much a part of my way of thinking and sort of having relationships and negotiations and deciding on things now, that it's hard to like separate what is me using psychology and what is me just being me. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's quite difficult to distinguish what's what, but I will say that I think that that background and that thinking about negotiations, choices, the right agent to go with, all of that, I think it's so hugely influenced by my sort of therapy background and knowledge. For example, just like really honest, authentic communication, something I'm always encouraging my clients to do. Trusting instincts, going with like what feels right to you, having boundaries, being really clear, like what's okay for me here, what's not, like all of that is definitely in there. And I wouldn't know how to let it not be, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I've described that very well, but hopefully you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll listen back to that because my internet decided to cut out. But
I know you disappeared for a sec, but you're back.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a great answer. Yeah, it's just something that fascinates me in terms of like people who are knowledgeable about how the human mind works and stuff. Like, can they manage situations where they do have self-doubt in a better way than somebody who doesn't? Do they take themselves out and, coach themselves through it and go, you expected this is going to happen, but this is what you need to do?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I think I answered something different, but that is such a great point. Do you know what I'm just going to be totally honest, that as a therapist, I can say all of the things to my clients and the people that I'm working with. I can almost never apply that same thinking to myself. Right? Like objectively, I could see somebody in the situations that I've been in and can kind of would give them all of the tools and the ways to see it and kind of look at their thinking and things like that. It's so hard to do that on myself. And I think most therapists would say that, actually. I think like there's a phrase, isn't there, that like we teach others what we ourselves most need to learn. And so many therapists are kind of those wounded healers. Like we've been drawn to go into that work because we struggle with all of those things ourselves. So, you know, I'd love to say that since I've become a therapist, I don't really have like anxiety. I didn't find it anxiety provoking to go on submission. I wasn't upset by bad reviews. And that would not be the truth.
Yeah, that's not true for anybody that writes books.
Right.
Brilliant. Okay, they were two great answers, by the way, Chris, even the one that was there before you disconnected very briefly. What we're going to do is we're going to go on to the second part of the show, which is what's the story? And we're going to talk about the Hideaway and then what may also be coming. And that is part two, what's the story? So I'm going to play that video and we'll get straight into it. So, Nikki, The Hideaway is a story that we talked about in depth at the Harrogate Crime Writers Festival. But for those who have not seen that interview, can you let everybody know what that's all about, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of hinted a little bit about the sort of the overall plot and hook before, but it is a destination thriller is where we would kind of categorize it. We're following 5 strangers who all win a place on a luxury week-long spiritual wellness retreat in the Costa Rican rainforest, hosted
Hugging
by
trees.
a tree hugging. Oh yeah, you bet. You bet, yeah. There's a lot of tree hugging and so many trees to choose from. And they are all invited there, or they've won this place on this this sort of competition by a very famous kind of huge TikTok social media star influencer, spiritual and wellness influencer called Hannah. And when our 5 strangers arrive at the retreat, they are a little bit baffled to find that there's no sign of Hannah anywhere. But instead, they are left a kind of a series of clues or instructions to follow in her absence. And those clues lead them away from the safety of the luxurious retreat and further into the jungle, where there are all kinds of discoveries waiting for them.
Absolutely, and brilliant. And of course, the setting plays a huge part in this. And this is one thing we did touch on in Harrogate, but the setting choice, you could have gone anywhere with a retreat. And going off what you previously said about already can't remember what you mentioned them as, but the little huts in Scotland, the location could have been anywhere in the world. So why the Costa Rican rainforest?
Yeah, I've been so fascinated by the rainforest. I've spent quite a bit of time in rainforest, not specifically in Costa Rica, although I wish I had. And I did do a lot of really deep research about the Costa Rican rainforest, specifically when I was writing The Hideaway. But I have spent time in other areas of rainforest and other parts of the world. I was so taken by this feeling of claustrophobia in these really vast expanses of space, and this incredible feeling of like losing your bearings and not being able to sort of navigate and turning one way and everything kind of looks the same unless you're really, you know, familiar, deeply sort of familiar or indigenous, you know, to that type of land. So that was kind of sort of, it had been in the back of my mind. I also came across some sort of true stories, actually, really tragic true stories of people who had gone for hikes in the Costa Rican rainforest and never been seen again, and some of whom were found kind of years later. And these were people who were really experienced hikers. These are people who knew the rainforest, but it just really, again, sort of struck me that kind of, I wanted the rainforest to feel like its own character. I suppose that's what I was really drawn to, this idea of kind of nature as this sort of amoral character that's neither good nor bad, it just is. But that if we don't take, you know, the rainforest seriously, and the nature that's within it seriously, that that we're we're playing with fire kind of thing, like we're doing something a bit dangerous. So there's this kind of double threat that I wanted to create with from both the setting of the rainforest and then obviously the characters who all have their kind of secrets and hidden reasons for being there and various murderous motives going on between them as well. Yeah, it was that kind of combination, I think. Yeah.
Nikki, for me, obviously, the Hideaway, you get some books that come along and they feel like almost like they perfectly capture the time and space in which they were written. And I feel like it almost has like a commentary about our society and where we're currently at in 2025, like running through it. I could see, maybe 50 years time, students studying this book and picking it apart. And is that what they were like in 2025? So I think my question is like, how much of that was like a conscious crafting from you, and how much was it like that just happened naturally as you were going through the story?
Yeah, gosh, wow. I love that idea, by the way, students studying my book. That's not something that I've ever imagined, but what an honor that would be. I think it was at least partly conscious, but I was also really mindful of not wanting it to feel like, I mean, for me as a reader, I don't really like reading books where it feels like I'm being like a message or something is being kind of really forced at me, like I'm there because I want to read and I want to be entertained and I want to be transported and intrigued and all of those kind of things. So I was kind of aware that I wanted to try and say something like specifically about, wellness influence and, online influence and the kinds of vulnerability that different people have that might mean they're drawn towards those influences. So I was aware that I wanted to say something about that, but I wanted to try and do it in a way that still felt like this is I wanted it to, that's what I was trying to do. I've got there in the end. I wanted it to be possible to read it on different levels so that if you wanted to read it just as a bit of fun, beach gripping, page turner and not think any more deeply about it and not feel that there are any themes in it, that's absolutely fine and it can work as that. But I also love the idea of it being able to work on that level as well, where people might see that bit of commentary or that bit of kind of, that's an interesting point about, wellness culture and who we choose to follow and that kind of thing.
So
a bit of
on that then, how do you craft that in? Because I'm reading a book at the minute called X-Ray Reading. It's a great book for anyone who's into reading, but it gives you so many insights on how authors do exactly that in terms of build layers of meaning within their writing. So can you talk us through that in terms of like what you may have done to just tweak things and change little bits?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of it for me comes through character. So getting my characters to express in their voices, it through their lenses. And I've done so much therapy on my characters, right? So I've like analyzed them and their childhoods and everything else. I'm thinking through the lenses of their experiences, how would they feel about this theme? How would they feel about wellness culture and toxic influence? And then tried to sort of drip feed it through their words, if that makes sense. And so then there's kind of it's a bit nuanced then because they won't all feel the same way about it, but overall we get a sense of perhaps what that theme is through their words. I also tried to play a bit with kind of motifs and sort of symbolic things. So for example, I wanted it to feel like we've got luxury on the surface. So things look shiny on the surface, just like a beautiful online influencer, right? Perfect and beautiful on the surface. And then things are kind of cracking underneath. So in the rainforest, beautiful on the surface, danger lurking underneath, beautiful retreat, darkness lurking within, things like that. I tried not to give too much away about the book, but yeah, that kind of motif and symbolism, tried to replicate that through the book as well. I think those are the two main things that I did. As I've talked a bit about setting and I think how that weaved into it too, but that's definitely another one. But those would be the things that I would try to use to do that. And I think it's so clever when authors do that well. I hope to have emulated some of it because I think it's brilliant when that works. Yeah.
So again, being a writer that's got ADHD and having multiple characters, I should imagine that's quite problematic when you're coming up with new characters that you want to shove in and go, oh, this will be another really good one. Like, did that happen at all during the process? And did your mind sort of run away with the story? And did you find it maybe quite difficult to contain all of those ideas that you had?
Oh, I love that you asked me that. Like, it's the first time anyone's asked me about what it's like writing and having ADHD. So I think that for me, having ADHD is both an absolute blessing, like the biggest gift that I could have for writing novels, and at the same time, the worst possible thing that you could have to deal with to be writing novels. So the shiny object syndrome is a thing, right? So it's constantly like, oh, new idea, new character, new setting, new place. Or maybe I should just rip this all apart and start. Maybe it's better if I do it like that. Maybe actually I should set it in a totally different rainforest, right? So it's like constantly these ideas, but sometimes those ideas are really good. Often they're not. Sometimes they are. So it's about being able to kind of take those moments to slow down and sift through what's actually really what have I hit on here that might be good, and what do I just need to let go of. I do think that I mean I would really credit my ADHD with the speed and the efficiency with which I've been able to write, because I've now written 3 full novels in the last 2 years around having a full-time job and 2 neurodivergent children. I would credit, and people are often like, I don't, how is that possible? I think it's possible because of my ADHD. I think my ADHD gives me this extra drive and sort of hyper focus to get things done, like to get the words down. And at the same time, it also means that quite often, my first drafts are totally chaotic. And I can't do that thing of writing chronologically that people talk about. Like, that doesn't work for me. I just have to go with what I'm interested in on that day. So if I've suddenly got an urge to write a scene, that happens in, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through, then that's kind of what I have to go with. I hope some of that made sense. ADHD as I'm talking.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's a great tip as well, because that's when people are struggling maybe with motivation. That's a great tip to do. Where the motivation strikes or the inspiration strikes, go with it. But also, just want to say amazingly well done to you for having all of those things to juggle and still getting through 3 novels in 2 years. It's incredible. So well done. But also,
thank you.
Yeah, it must be a real challenge. And like what you mentioned is real key there, is the what if question. What if I can, what if this works? What if that works? And it's constantly asking that as an author is a real big tip, because what if I can finish this book? What if I can take the advice from this or learn from this? It's, if you're asking what if, you are going to put yourself in that position of creating, and perhaps what if that agent accepts me, you're going to take that step. So that what if question is real crucial.
I love that. And I think that's so true. Keep asking what if. Yeah, brilliant tip. Yeah.
Just before we move on to the community questions, I'm going to ask you a sort of twofold question. The first is, do you have any more tips for anyone with ADHD that is struggling maybe with their writing or their consistency? And then I'll ask my second one in a minute.
Yeah, I think I did sort of touch on this. I think my biggest tip is go with the strengths that your ADHD gives you, right? So for me, that is the ability to have amazing ideas, like sparking off ideas constantly. So allow yourself to have those ideas. I also think it's really important to go with whatever that thing is that motivates you. So anyone that has ADHD will know that feeling like we're kind of being forced to do something, that I'm not interested in, is actually painful. It's actually painful. It's not just like, if you're neurotypical, I think you can kind of go, well, I don't want to do this thing, but I'm going to do it anyway. With ADHD, it's like, I don't want to do this thing, and now my brain is not going to allow me to do it. So I think let's not fight against that. I just don't fight against that. And if on a certain day I'm like, I really don't want to do this today. I really don't want to edit today. I really don't want to go back into this manuscript. I really don't want to write another 1,000 words. Okay, well, what do I feel motivated to do instead? And go with that. Maybe it's to go in and like polish one random page, just really make the words shine instead. Or maybe it's to brainstorm some ideas for something else. Maybe it's to think about my characters, just literally sit and think about my characters for half an hour. Whatever it is, like follow that interest. Yeah. That's the biggest tip I've got to offer.
Yeah, no, that's great. So when we interviewed you at Harrogate, I said this feels like it could be the birth of a serial killer. And again, I'm not going to go into the toilet, but I'm just wondering, have you ruminated on that? Have you maybe thought a little bit more about it? Because I can see this right up there with the Dexters, the Joe Goldbergs. You know, yeah. So I suppose that's my question.
I love that. I am all over that. Like I would love to do that. I can't tell you how much I would love to do that. I mean, it's wonderful being under contract, but one of the less maybe wonderful things about it is that I have less, I suppose, choice, really. I have less freedom to say, or at this stage of my career anyway. I think, over time I will have more sort of say in that. But at this point in my career, I'm very much kind of going with what, my publisher suggested for the next thing. And unfortunately, that is not a continuation of the murderer in the Hideaway, but it's something that I often think about by myself. I often think about, where would they be now? Like, what would they? I wonder who they're taking down next. I wonder what their next plans were. And I would love to say, never say never. In the future, I'd love to see if there's somewhere else that I can take that particular character.
Yeah.
Just on that,
Macmillan's watching, and they go, That's the thing. That's a great idea. That's book 3, 4, and 5 right there.
Just on that, if that character had a social media bio, what would that say?
Oh, that's a hard question without giving it away.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, obviously no spoilers involved.
Okay. It might be something similar to that's going to give it away. Oh, Chris, that is so hard without giving it away.
Leave it. Don't give it away.
Can I think about it? I know, but can I think about it? Can I think about it and send it to you after? Yeah, because that's a great question.
Do. It just popped in my head, so I had to ask it. Okay, so we're going to go on to community questions. If you're watching this, please do send in some questions. We've got our staple questions to ask, and we'll ask them straight after this video. So, community question time. Nikki, if you could take a character from any other world of fiction, whether that be a TV show, a movie, or a book, and maybe you can either put them in your novel or take them out for the day, which character would you choose and why?
Oh, great question. What was the name of that amazing BBC murder mystery where it was David Mitchell played the detective? Do you know the one I'm talking about? It was musical. Do you know the one I'm talking about? What was his name? Am I allowed to look that? Am I allowed to look that up?
I'm looking right now.
Okay, amazing.
Ludwig.
Right, Ludwig. From so David Mitchell plays this fantastic detective. He's incredibly socially awkward. I think he's coded as autistic. He's just brilliant. I would have him straight in my next book. That's number one choice.
Nice. What about that character do you love specifically?
What about him specifically? I think I love anyone who doesn't fit the typical mold of I think I resonate with anybody who struggles with social, it's probably a neurodivergent thing, with sort of really struggles with what's sort of socially the right thing to do, and always feels a bit awkward and always a little bit and not really sure, but really has their thing that they really, really love and that they're brilliant at. I just love that.
Have you seen Slow Horses?
Oh, yes.
So a character instantly popped in my mind talking about that kind of style is Gary Oldman's character.
Gary Oldman. Absolutely.
What you're, yeah. Because I think that 100%. Is a perfect example.
That is a perfect example. And again, just brilliant, just brilliant. And I love how with these characters that it's quite grey, because in some ways they're kind of they're different. They're not like super lovable and fluffy, are they?
Yeah,
They're also like, there's things about them that are a bit off-putting. But
absolutely.
yeah, but at the same time, I don't know, that somehow just makes me love them more. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'd
that's
have
the thing.
Gary or
They are
Charles.
completely off-putting, but you do still root for them and you enjoy them as a
Yeah,
character. So yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, Chris, I
exactly.
interrupted you there.
No, it's all right. I'm just going to ask one of the questions that have come in. So, are there any ways that you would not kill a character?
Any ways that I would not kill a character? Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, yes, actually. This is getting a bit dark for a second. I wouldn't. I wouldn't kill somebody through that was really struggling with their mental health through their own choice. So I wouldn't have a character die by suicide. That feels like quite a clear line to me, actually. I also wouldn't want this is not exactly the question that was asked, but like, I couldn't do anything involving animals being hurt, animals being killed. I don't know what it is, but I could watch people being killed on a program all day. Anything to do with an animal, and I'm out straight away. I'm out. So anything to do with, I think self-harm or suicide would be a no for me, and anything to do with animals. That's
Chris,
my
what
real
was that series that Sarah Pinborough, she made a book and then it was made into a series that was really good, but they took out, there was a cat killing in it. And they had
Behind
to
Her
take it.
Eyes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. When we spoke to her, she said that the cat killing was in there and they wouldn't put it in the series. I'm sure there was a high heel stiletto involved somewhere.
I think that's right. It's just too much, isn't it, for a lot of people? It's just too much. We can watch people
I
dying, but
know.
not animals.
Yeah. We watch like terrible scenes on TV all the time with humans. Yeah, fine.
Totally. Don't touch the cat.
Yeah.
100%.
So we do have some staple questions, but I'm going to ask you a question. Obviously, with a debut, it's a little bit different because people haven't read your work before, and obviously they've got nothing to go off because there's nothing there. So I suppose my question is, who do you think would enjoy your debut?
Yeah, I think I would maybe go with readers who enjoy authors like, I'd probably maybe compare myself, and this is be sort of high hopes really, but somebody like Lucy Clark, somebody like Claire Douglas, somebody like Claire McIntosh. These are some of my all-time favorite thriller authors who I very much tried to emulate. I think particularly Lucy Clark, because I think my books and my next book that I'm working on at the moment have got that similar vibe of point of view character, like various point of view characters, unreliable narrator, luxurious sun-soaked destination in there as well. So I think that would be what I would suggest. If you enjoyed those kind of authors, you might well enjoy The Hideaway and my next book.
Nice.
And with you mentioning the next book, I'm just going to probe you a little bit. How much can you tell us right now?
Yeah, so we're actually really close to being able to kind of reveal the cover and everything like that. So I think I can tell you the title, and I can tell you a little bit about what it's about, because that's actually already up on Amazon. So it's another destination type thriller. We've got another kind of claustrophobic setting, but in a vast expanse of space. That's this time a super yacht in French Polynesia, sailing around the Society Islands. It's called Below the Deck, so quite close to Below Deck, but with a that in the end. And the book kind of really explores, this time it's not a group of strangers. I really wanted to explore this time a group who already know each other. So this is a group of work colleagues and their partners, all hiding secrets, all keeping things kind of buried and under wraps. And then there's all kinds of things that go down as soon as they set sail into the South Pacific, and with the crew as well as the guests. And yeah, the cover's going to be revealed in the next, I think, week or two, and it's fab. They've done such a great job. I love it.
That's awesome.
That's book two.
I think you're just with these destination thrillers waiting for the time they say, yeah, we'll send you off to this location for the PR,
That's the dream.
Isn't
That's
it?
the dream. It really, really is. And I am still holding out hope. Like one day they'll send me
Yeah.
there. Until
Okay.
then, I'm doing a lot of research.
Yeah. Keep putting it in those nice places. I'm sure you'll get there one day.
Exactly. We'll get there.
Okay, if you could take the ending of anything, again, TV, movie, or novel, and change the ending, which is quite a big thing, what ending would you change and why?
Oh, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I wonder how many people have said this, but it's the first thing that popped into my head. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones TV series. Have people said this before?
It's probably our most common answer.
Oh, I want it to be original, but that's what came into my head.
Show how frustrating it was for everybody.
Such a shame. The build up. I mean, it was just so fantastic. Like, I loved the series. I loved. I think I've read maybe the first 3 or 4 books, not all of them, but I just loved how the series was done. And then, yeah, it did just feel like such a disappointment. And it made no sense. Bran, oh gosh, I hope that's not a spoiler. But anyway, Bran made no sense to me.
If that's a spoiler, then people need to catch it. Because
that's true.
That came out a long time ago now.
It was a long time ago. Yeah. Yeah, but that's my answer. I know that's not very original, but that's my honest answer. It's going to be Game of Thrones.
It's your honest answer. And I'm now intrigued to know when that actually came out, because it probably was a long time ago.
2020. I want to say like 2022.
Chris, you carry on with the staple questions and I will find out.
Yeah, find out.
Yeah, so we're slightly over, so I'm conscious of that, but I'll just ask you this question and then you can tell us where everyone can find the Hideaway and where they can find all the good stuff about you, where to find you on social media and everything. But the question that we have is, again, a little bit morbid, but you're on your deathbed, you're looking back at your writing career. What would you be happy with? What is success to you?
Oh, wow. Sometimes I think I've already got to it, because for me, obviously, the dream was to be published, that, by a trad publisher and have my book in Waterstones, and I still can't get my head around that, walking into Waterstones and seeing my book. So a lot of it is there already. But no, I think something that I would feel so proud of and happy if I look back on was to feel that I had also at some point written a book that was absolutely the book of my heart, which might not be so commercial. It might not be such a clear, genre category. It might be an awful lot, like a hell of a lot weirder, and make a lot less sense to a reader. But I think for me to feel that I had put that on paper and completed that just for me, like no matter what happened to it, whether it got published or not, that would be that. Then I'd die a happy lady.
Yeah. See, that's an original answer that we've never had.
Really?
Yeah. That is probably one of the best answers for that. I think that's a fantastic explanation of just being able to write the weird. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing. So with that in mind, guys, please do go along and follow Nikki Allen on socials, which she's going to explain, because we didn't ask that, where they can stalk you on social media.
Yes, please come and stalk me. It's my most active place. In fact, the only place I'm really super active is on Instagram. So you can come and find me there, Nikki Allen, author. And in terms of the book, you can find it in all your bookshops. So Waterstones, Amazon, and you'll just search for The Hideaway, Nikki Allen, and you'll find it.
Absolutely. We'll be looking out for that cover. And of course, we will link put those links in the description so you can find Nikki Allen on socials, on the website, and Amazon as well. So all we can say is thank you so much, Nikki, for joining us, and it's been a pleasure
for having me.
Harrogate, and of course here as well. And we look forward to the next installments from Nikki Allen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anything from you, Chris?
No, I was literally waving then, so I was done. Go hug a tree. That's what I'll say.
Go hug a tree. Yes.
Go hug a tree.
Hug a tree. Hug a tree.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, and have a great weekend. Please stay safe, and we'll see you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.